Welcome to the August edition of My Care Alliance podcast. The My Care Alliance podcast covers topics that case managers, care managers, patient and health advocates, the helping professionals can use to improve their business skills as they grow their business. My name is Ann Llewellyn. I'm a nurse advocate, and I'll be your moderator for today's program. In this edition, we're going to address one of the challenging issues for helping professionals running your business. Most helping professionals come to the table with a huge passion for helping people, but very little business expertise. Two issues most face are managing their finances and understanding regulations about hiring employees. In this podcast, we've asked three experts in the field to join us to share some tips that will help new and existing business owners learn the basics of managing their finances and understanding regulations about bringing on staff. Let me introduce our panel.
Hi, my name is Ginger Jones. I'm the CEO of My Care Alliance and co-founder of Diversified Nurse Consultants, as well as Peggy's Place, LLC. I'm excited to be able to share this information with you guys today. These two experts are invaluable resources, and I hope you will enjoy this podcast.
Thanks, Ginger. Okay, Ashley.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ashley Jones, Director of Operations for My Care Alliance. I have 10 years of experience in operations and finance. I'm an accountant by degree, and some of my background is in implementation of technology solutions, business process improvement, accounting system setups and cleanups. So all of my 10 years of experience have been in the helping professionals and senior care industry.
Great. And Jennifer?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Wheatley, and I am the president and co-owner of HR Affiliates. We are a HR consulting and outsourcing firm, and we work. I'm a lifelong HR professional, but also a business owner. So we work with primarily small to medium-sized businesses and a lot of startup organizations. And what we do is really just help businesses from the very beginning establish the right processes, making sure that they're legally compliant, and then really help them grow their culture and help them build their businesses.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, let's start with the financial side. Ashley, thanks for being here. As helping professionals work to start new businesses, most look at talking to an accountant, lawyer, PR person, or HR professional. I know there are others, but for our discussion today, let's focus on these four. From the financial side, what questions should people ask surrounding the business side of their business?
Sure. I think it's really important to talk to lots of different providers for those four outsourcing kind of industries that you mentioned. Finding a partner that knows your industry and is going to be able to help your business grow and find the right lender, banker, bookkeeper, tax professional. That's going to be really important. Your comfort level is probably one of the most important aspects of that. Getting the partner to work with you on those things. Yeah.
And Ashley, what questions, if you can maybe give one or two questions that a new business owner should ask a lawyer, should ask an accountant when they're trying to bring them on? What are the important things how can they evaluate somebody, and then how can they also make sure that there is going to be that partnership there, as you mentioned?
Yeah, I think it's probably really important to find somebody who works with similar businesses to yours, and to use your resources in your industry or your community. You know, your professional associations, get referrals. If a like-minded business owner has had good experience with another professional, then they're probably going to be able to do right by you.
I'll piggyback on that as well, to say that, over the past decade and starting and running the businesses that I've been involved in, it really has been essential to find somebody that understands a business model. And it's challenging to understand the business model because it's kind of a niche business, a cottage industry. And I found that I'd spend a lot of time trying to explain the model to some of the professionals that were consulting with us. They just really didn't understand. So that's one of the reasons that My Care Alliance offers these services, because we do understand the business model.
Mm-hmm. And, maybe having your business plan written. I know many people put that off, but writing your business plan that kind of, as Ginger says, explains what you're going to do, because it is a niche industry and it can be complicated. It's not like a regular business. You're going to have different clients. You may have people who pay you directly, or you work on a retainer, or you work on an hourly basis. And how to set up that from a financial standpoint, and accountant knowing how to pay taxes and when to pay taxes is another thing. So in your recommendation, as someone who's been in this business for 10 years, having an accountant and maybe knowing what the difference is between a bookkeeper and an accountant is an important distinction. So maybe you could explain that a little bit, but really somebody who really understands the tax implications of what you're doing as a business owner and can help you set up like your incorporation. That's another piece that many new business owners don't know. They just come in and say, well, I'm a nurse, I'm a professional, I can do this. They hang out their shingle, but they don't have any of that backroom expertise in place.
Well, so I think Ashley could probably talk about the building the accountant and the tax is all about building a good foundation from the get-go. And that starts with, I'll let you answer that question.
Sure. So we just recently did a webinar recording that's available on the My Care Alliance website about the importance of small business owners and new businesses understanding their finances. And we kind of walked through the building blocks of creating your financial accounting system. We prefer to use QuickBooks online or desktop, so that was our model, but it's all basically the same, understanding what a chart of accounts is and how money moves in and out of your business, even on a basic level, can go a long way to the success of your business. I think one of the big parts of a business's success with their business plan is taking some of the ego out of it, understanding your limitations, and that you can't do everything all the time, and finding the partners that we've talked about for HR and the finance, bookkeeping, billing aspect of it that are going to be able to fill in the gaps, your knowledge gaps, as well as your quality of life gaps. Because so many times business owners end up doing those types of activities get deprioritized, and they end up happening in the evenings and on the weekends when they should be spending time with their family and enjoying their success.
And that's one of the areas I think helping professionals need to understand. We're used to, as helping professionals, we try to help everybody and we forget about ourselves. So that is a good point, Ashley, to take that, to really look at it. You are running a business, and to have that business run successfully, you need to be able to do what you do best, and maybe give some of the other tasks or areas to other people who can have expertise in that. It'll make your life much easier.
Yes.
We're going to bring Jennifer in a minute, But one of the things I want to say as a small business owner and a new business owner is, we did our taxes, whenever in February, March, when taxes were due. And I had to go back a full year to look for things expenses that I did accumulate because I have my own business. But, all those different receipts, make sure you're keeping them. A lot of people keep them in a box. And at the end of the year, they have to go through and separate everything for their accountant, because the accountant is not going to take the time. If they do take the time, they're going to bill you for it, to separate all your business receipts and to put them with certain clients. So this is where I wanted to ask Ginger to explain what My Care Alliance has as a nice system for independent advocates, care managers, case managers to use to keep track of their business hours, of their business expenses, your billing, all that. So Ginger, do you want to explain that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Our core software platform is powered by iHealth Home. And iHealth Home provides you with all of those tools that you need to run your business. And it also has a mobile application. So whether you're at home in your office or you're on the road, you can quickly log in your billable time, capture your expenses. You can store your documents in there. Receipts, copies of your receipts in there, pictures of your receipts if you want. Our bookkeeping clients that are using our services can simply email that into My Care Alliance, and our bookkeepers will put that in their chart of accounts. So they can just kind of do it and not worry about it again, because it's so much more difficult to think about at the end. But I think the beauty too of our system is it doesn't just run your business. It serves as an electronic health record for your clients. And for those that have home care, there's a really robust scheduling system module that can be added on. So it really meets all the needs for a helping profession business.
And the cost of this, just in a general point of view, I think there is a cost to it. It's a monthly fee, but also it's web-based. So talk a little bit why the cost. I think it pays for itself after you start to use it. You can really see that it will pay for itself if you invest in, as Ashley said, invest in yourself to improve your own quality of life.
Yeah, the cost starts at less than one of most of this industry's billable hours. So we start generally around $99 a month for the system. And so most people are billing more than that for an hour of time. So if I just say, if this saves you, and I know I can promise you it will save you more than an hour of time, then you've made a good investment. And it also positions you to be in a spot to grow your business. A lot of people that I talk to will say, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm just starting out. I don't want to make the investment until I get more clients. Well, that's fine, but you're going to be busier when you get more clients, and it's actually going to be harder to get in and start getting yourself disciplined to using the system. So I think it's a good investment to kind of get everything set up, and it automatically integrates with QuickBooks Online platform. It can be exported. The billing and bookkeeping and timekeeping for any employees you have is all done in there. Can be exported for payroll. Can be or directly exported for billing into QuickBooks. So it's just a click of a button, and you're not.
I will also add for your documentation. It will also keep your documentation. And I know we're going to bring Jennifer in a minute, but from a legal standpoint of being a professional, your documentation is really important in case there's any questions or what happened when. It's all in one place. So having that type of a system in place to do that is important. And I will make a disclaimer here. This is a My Care Alliance program, and this podcast is sponsored by My Care Alliance. So that's why we're talking about it. But there are other programs out there that you can look at as an independent. helping professional that you can look at. But, we wanted to bring you this idea during this podcast. So, okay, Jennifer, thank you for being patient and waiting, but we see you're in your car. So thank you for, we're always on the run and we do things at different times. So thank you for coming on today and taking your time to help us with this. As we talked about the helping professionals, and we talked about them being advocates, patient or health advocates, they can call themselves case managers, care managers. These are independent professionals who work for themselves. They don't work for an employer. They don't have anybody behind them. So they have to really use everything that they would usually get by an employer, and they have to find that themselves. Their own health insurance. They have to pay their own taxes. They may get a check, but there'll be no taxes taken out of it. And so they need to be able to, as that's why we were talking with Ashley about how to, really understand that maybe they have to pay quarterly taxes because they're independent, and they may at the end of a year make $100,000. And if they didn't pay tax on it all year long, that tax burden may be higher. So we're trying to help people really understand what some of the key tools are that people can use. So from the human resource perspective, we know that's your expertise. And what would you suggest people who are starting a new business, and they may be a single one-person business in the beginning? Shortly, they're going to realize they may need to have some help. They may need to bring on a business partner. They may need to bring on a staff person, like an office manager, somebody to answer their phones, because again, if they try to do everything themselves, they're going to end up not doing a very good job, and they're not going to be able to grow their business. And that's what we've seen. A lot of people burn out from this really early just because they didn't take the time to learn what business skills they needed. So from your point of view, what do people, when they're coming into this, need to think about from an HR perspective?
Sure. Well, you're absolutely right. We see it all the time, and I think and I live this because I started my own business years ago, and I did everything. I was the marketer. I tried to be an accountant, which wasn't a good idea. You just, because you're trying to keep your expenses down. You're not sure if the business if it's going to work. So, and I got to this point, and we see this all the time. We have someone who's an independent person who's doing their business, and then you get to that point, I've got to get help. So I think the biggest first question is to really think about, what does that mean when you say you need help? If you're going to bring in another business partner, well, that's a whole, there's so many things to think about from that perspective. Not only, from a legal standpoint and partnerships and all that, but also making sure it's the right fit. I've actually seen many times where they'll bring in a partner and it just doesn't work, and the business ends up failing, and it all had to do with personality and being aligned in their vision and their values. So that is first and foremost. But let's move on to say that okay, you decided that you need some help. Maybe, so covering you for vacation or whatever the case might be. The next question that I would say you need to ask yourself is, can I bring someone in as an independent contractor, someone that maybe has their own business, or do they need to be an employee? And that's a pivotal decision where things go from there. You can do it either way, but it's important to understand the legal ramifications of those decisions. So for example, you can certainly bring in a contractor, an independent contractor, and it's perfectly legal to do that, but you just want to make sure that they really are classified as an independent contractor. And we see a lot of talk around this subject right now, both from a federal level and a state. Different states have different rules on how you classify someone, what really constitutes an independent contractor versus an employee. So I would caution everyone, if that's where you are kind of at, just make sure that if you want to bring in an independent contractor, that you do your due diligence, get help to make sure that that person really is an independent contractor. So that'd be the first thing. Then let's say you decide, I think I really need to hire an employee. That first employee that you hire changes everything. And everything changes, because once you have that first employee, there now, from an HR perspective, an employment law perspective, you got to start complying with things. So I know Ashley can attest to this, but if you decide that you're going to, have this business, you make sure you're established with the state, that you have a employee identification number. Well, all from there, the legal stuff begins, and you have to, I'll give you just a few things to be thinking about. Is you have to establish with the state. So because now you have an employee, you have to establish unemployment account, because you have to start paying unemployment taxes. You have to start thinking about, you're going to have to pay Social Security taxes and Medicare taxes. So all of those things start to come into play when you hire that first person. Workers' comp, you hire that first employee, you now have to obtain workers' comp coverage. So that's a whole nother process and expense. Next thing I see, and Ashley could probably attest to this too, where I see a lot of problems is when start bringing employees and how you pay them.
Mhm.
I've seen where they just pay them out of accounts payable, or they write them a check. And I would caution, if when you hire that first employee, get a payroll system. It doesn't have to be, it can be an accountant system, but just don't try to do it yourself. I've seen more trouble where, taxes aren't properly taken, and because employees, there's withholdings that have to be taken out of employees' paychecks. And I've seen a lot of problems around that where they didn't properly do it, even down to the local level. Many states have some kind of wonky local taxing issues, and we see a lot of problems where those aren't properly taken from employees' checks. So get a good payroll system.
What kind of issues have people run into with that? Are those fines and penalties type situations?
There very well could be. And where we see a lot of times with employees, though, it creates a lot of employee issues, because suddenly it wasn't being taken out of their check. They go to file their taxes at the end of the year, and now suddenly they owe money. They weren't aware. It causes, some morale issues, but also, absolutely, there's some penalties with that as well. So it's just something, just do that right from the beginning.
And there are so many low-cost payroll processing solutions, web-based, that will integrate with your accounting software now. And they'll handhold you through the implementation process and make sure that you've got your ducks in a row for that first pay run. So yeah, I agree, Jennifer. Getting a channel partner and a technology solution to manage that is imperative.
And even just, Ginger, I know you were a nurse, so when you came into this, I'm new to this, but I would not even think of half of those things. So really,
When I came into this was Ashley.
yeah, right. Well,
I've been with Ginger since 2011, kind of.
I'm still here.
Well, one thing, and I think you'll all agree with the law, there are rules and regulations, as you said, Jennifer, state laws, federal laws, local laws. And I've heard this saying before, ignorance is no excuse for not obeying the law. They won't say, oh, you're a nurse, you just started your business. We understand that you probably didn't even know about these laws. No, you get a penalty, and it can be pretty hefty. And it can really make you, or what else? I don't know what else they do for tax evasion, go to jail. We're not making that much money. Believe me, we're not in that white collar crime area yet. But I think it's really important to know what we don't know, or just to even have the sense that you need people to help you build your business and do it right. Do it the right way. You're going to take care of patients. You're going to coordinate their care. You're going to call their doctors and talk to them about, I have a man I went with yesterday to have a liver transplant. That's pretty heavy stuff. They call that's life and death. this information that you're using for your business, your, salaries, your payroll, your own income that you pay yourself, you have to do that properly. So these are really serious issues that as a new business owner, you need to be aware of them.
And I'll add on to, and from the beginning of starting our business, I was really fortunate. We always worked closely with an attorney and HR professionals as soon as we started hiring, because HR was so complicated that it wasn't something we could research and learn. And as Jennifer mentioned, it sounds scary when you start thinking about hiring an employee, because now you've got all these other rules. But there are pros and cons. And as we grew our business, we used a combination of contractors and W-2 employees. So I encourage you to use resources like Jennifer's company. And one of the things I love about HR Affiliates is you don't have to retain them for 40 hours a week. I mean, they can come and be consultants, and we have special rates with them through MCA for you. Just to call and have a conversation about, I'm thinking about hiring, what things do I need to look at? And helping you get set up from the beginning. Or I'd like to use an independent contractor. What do I need to have in place? Make sure that they qualify as an independent contractor.
And Jennifer, does your organization also do the contracts for people, like to draw up a contract for an independent professional? Or
We do. We have templates and we can work with clients. That what we don't do, we're not lawyers. We're not, and so we absolutely, there's certain things that we would recommend that you always have an attorney review. So we get them to a certain point, but there's some things that you should really have run by an attorney, especially if you're in a state that, for California, for example, it's good to have an attorney look at some of those things. We can get them to a certain point, save them a lot of money, and then just have an attorney do like a final review on
what you put together, to see if it fits for your,
Yeah.
because this
I'm sorry, you don't want your attorney to be doing research for you.
yeah.
No.
Right.
No.
Well, I think, we could probably stay on this topic for another hour or two, and really divide it up between the two areas of finance and HR, because there is so much to cover. But I would like, one of the things we talked about for this podcast is to provide some resources. So I know, Ashley, you've talked about some webinars that you've done that are on the MyCare Alliance. And Jennifer, if you have any really nice websites that people could go to really learn about, from a new business perspective, what really are the important areas to focus on, so advocates can get a handle for that. We're good at researching and reading and learning and trying to understand. So if we could get some of those on our website for people when they listen to the podcast to explore, that would be great. But I would like each of you to end this podcast with just some words of advice, words of caution, and maybe just, really empowering words that people can use as they really think about this. So Ginger, do you want to start?
Okay. Well, as Ian said, as full disclosure, MyCare Alliance is sponsoring this, but we really, our vision and mission is to see these helping professions grow, whether you're a customer of us or not. We want to be a resource to you, and we exist to empower you, help you be innovative. We are here to collaborate, and both we've got a membership that you can join and access our resources. And Jennifer recently did a full hour on benefits of contracting versus hiring, and Ashley recently did a webinar on understanding the basics of your bookkeeping and financing. So even just at the basic membership level, we hope that we have something to offer you. But my advice is, as somebody that's started several companies now, don't try and go it alone. Get your structure set up, make sure that's right before you start to grow. And don't be afraid to collaborate. I think people are sometimes afraid that if they collaborate, that, well, I'm way off. I lost my power, sorry.
You're good. We hear you.
I think sometimes people are afraid if they collaborate that somebody's going to steal their ideas or steal their business. And that's not necessarily the case. I've found that collaboration helps build your business, and those relationships are beneficial. And there's more than enough people to help. You don't have to worry about somebody stealing your business so much.
Right. And the people who we're talking about you're collaborating with don't want to do your business. They have their own business. So they really, it's not that fear. It's really the fear of not knowing what you're doing and then getting in trouble for that. So Jennifer, what were your closing thoughts be?
I think she's touched on a lot of it, but I think the main thing from my perspective is don't do it alone. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Be willing to spend a little bit money, invest a little bit, because it'll be well worth it, but also educate yourself. And there's so many resources, as you said, out there. There's a lot of free resources out there. Every state has a small business development center, and that's what they exist for. So there's you said earlier about ignorance is no excuse, and you have so much access to information today. So I would just say, don't do it alone. Understand your own strengths and your areas of opportunities, and just be honest with yourself and say, these are not my strengths, and find the people that have those strengths to help you.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Ashley?
I agree 100% with what Ginger and Jennifer have said, and I'll build on that a little bit. Like Jennifer said, the small business associations in your state and your areas have so many resources for new businesses. One of the programs that I refer a lot of people to is SCORE. It's the business development, and you get an advisor, like a mentor, who has that financial and that business acumen that can really help you to improve your business knowledge and strengthen your ability as a business owner. And challenging yourself to reach out, because I think more often than not, other business owners in your area, in your industry, they want to share their success. Because we all face the same challenges, right? As business owners, as business operators, everybody faces the same challenges: funding, finding clients, retaining clients, hiring quality employees, retaining quality employees, and talking to the people in your community, both location-wise and industry-wise, is just so important. And people want to share their information, their experiences.
Right. Okay, well, thank you, all of you, for being part of today's podcast. We hope you'll tune in. We hope our audience will tune in to listen to all the podcasts that we've done so far. I think we have like 3 or 4 of them up there so far. And they're really for you, the helping professional, to help you be the best that you can be. So we hope that you enjoy these. And then if you have any topics that you would like to ask us to talk about on a future podcast, we do these once a month. We're always open. So we want to know what you want to know. And we're open to that. So please feel free. My name is Ann Llewellyn, and you can reach me. You can Google me and you'll come up with my name and my email. And, Ashley, Jennifer, and Ginger, thank you so much for today. Hope you have a good weekend and enjoy the rest of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Additional resources can be found in the podcast description or by going to www.mycarealliance.com and search for events and articles.